Hi everyone, welcome to Smack Reviews. If you love our honest reviews, smack that subscribe button so you never miss out. So I finally saw Avatar Fire and Ash. And despite what the critics think, this might actually be my favorite entry in the Avatar franchise so far. Now don't get me wrong, it's not perfect and I definitely have a few issues with it, but overall, this one worked for me in ways the first two never fully did. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you're on the fence about watching this review, you're safe here. I'll be talking about the overall vibe, themes, visuals, and how it compares to the previous films without giving anything away. Fire and Ash takes place immediately after the events of The Way of Water. And what stood out to me right away is how much more grounded and intense this movie feels. The focus on the Sully family dealing with the emotional and physical fallout of the previous film gives the story a weight that I don't think the series has fully achieved before. There were several moments that genuinely surprised me and even shocked me because of things certain family members say or do that we haven't really seen in earlier entries. While the first two Avatar films were clearly trying to tell serious stories, they often felt more upbeat and honestly more family friendly. Fire and Ash doesn't have that tone. It's noticeably darker, more intense, and more emotionally raw, and for me, that shift made all the difference. Let's get into it.
So my favorite aspect of this movie is easily the villains this time around. As expected, the RDA and Colonel Quaritch are once again trying to capture and ultimately kill Jake Sully, but what really changes the dynamic here is the introduction of a new Na'vi tribe, the Monkawan clan, or as they're more commonly referred to, the Ash people. Unlike any Na'vi group we've seen before, they actually align themselves with the RDA against Jake and his allies. What makes them so interesting is how fundamentally different their worldview is, especially when it comes to how they see Pandora and more importantly Awa. This isn't just a cosmetic or cultural difference, it directly challenges the spiritual foundation that the series has been built on up to this point. I thought this was a great breath of fresh air, and with each entry, Avatar continues to expand Pandora in meaningful ways, and the Ash people feel like a natural but bold evolution of that world building, rather than the simple rehash we've already seen. Another major plot thread that drives this movie forward revolves around Spider. The central development involving his character and why he became such a priority for the RDA worked for me as a way to push the story forward. I know Spider has been a point of contention for a lot of people, but personally I didn't think his storyline was handled badly here. A lot of the criticism seems to stem from opinions about the actor's performance, which some people consider weak. I didn't really feel that way. I thought his performance was solid overall, and more importantly not distracting enough to pull me out of the movie. And while some of the decisions Spider makes are definitely questionable, from when he was first introduced in The Way of Water and even in Fire and Ash, I think it's important to keep in mind that he's still a young teenager, and people at that age often make dumb decisions, and that feels consistent with who his character is supposed to be. When it comes to the visuals, it's no surprise that almost every shot is stunning, detailed, and immersive, just like in the previous films. Avatar has always looked incredible, and Fire and Ash is no exception. That said, I did experience some visual fatigue at times, especially with certain recurring settings like the water sequences. As amazing as they still look, we spent so much time in those environments in The Way of Water that they started to feel repetitive rather than exciting to watch.
The water-focused scenes felt repetitive. Not bad, just repetitive. I found myself less invested in those moments because they often felt like recycled content rather than something new. Considering how long these Avatar films take to develop, I expected each entry to introduce more distinctively new environments and ideas instead of revisiting so much of what we've already seen. This movie is called Fire and Ash, just to be clear, and while the volcanic and ash-filled settings are definitely present and stunning, I still felt like a lot of the film played more like Way of the Water Part 2 than its own fully distinct chapter. That didn't ruin the movie for me, but it did keep it from being flawless. Overall, Avatar Fire and Ash is my favorite entry in the trilogy. It's emotionally richer, more confident in its storytelling, and far more engaging from start to finish, even with its flaws. The darker, more mature tone sets it apart from the first two films and makes this chapter feel like a true turning point for the series. If you enjoyed previous Avatar films, this is absolutely worth seeing. And if you were more lukewarm on the earlier entries, this one might actually be the film that finally clicks for you. It's not perfect by no means, but it's powerful, visually stunning, and most importantly, it made me genuinely care about where these characters and this world are headed next. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to like, share, comment, and please subscribe. Don't forget to hype this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!